Okay, that's the normal damage there. Now I'll step one tile closer and... Hey Zombarinos, I've finally been reading and testing Zomboid's gun code, and today I'm finally making my first guns video. Today's topics are about a relationship between range and damage, and we're going to help you get better control of your gun's damage output. Now we're not talking about critical damage today because there's already excellent videos out there on that topic. Instead, we're talking about how to make every normal shot count, especially at lower levels where you can't rely on criticals. And even at high levels with weapons that can maximize your critical chance, Zomboid actually caps critical chance at 90%. So even with a perfect critical score, you will want to keep these facts in mind. So to help you get more kills with less ammunition, I've got 3 parts to our video today. In part 1, we'll talk about your maximum gun range and how it affects damage. In part 2, we'll talk about how the point blank damage bonus works. And in part 3, I'll give you some things to look for in-game that will help you to quickly find the best damage areas for your gun's range. There will also be 3 little bonuses for you along the way, as I'll point out some exceptions to these rules, I'll correct a related error from my melee combat video before this, and I will get your opinion on a possible bug that I found. So drop a like or a comment someplace if you want to help spread the word, and here we go. Okay, so for part 1, very similar to the melee mechanic I discussed in the previous combat video, we have the maximum range damage bonus. Let me explain how it works. So whenever you make an attack, the game creates a random damage value based on your weapon's damage stats, but then it checks your range. If you hit something at 100% of max range, you will deal 100% of your damage. But if you hit something at 50% of max range, you will only deal half your damage. And if you hit something even closer nearby, say like 20% of your max range, you're only going to deal 20% of your damage. So that's the maximum damage bonus, also known as the close range penalty, and it is the same for guns and melee. But there is an exception here. Shotguns. They have their own system. It does not matter if you hit targets near or far. The shotgun damage always hits with the same 1x modifier, no penalty. Now there is a spot in the code that says, hey, shotguns are even more special. They should do more damage up close and less damage at maximum range. But for some reason, the game runs that code, but it doesn't actually use the result. So the shotgun always gets the same damage modifier of having no penalty for range, regardless of distance when it hits. But before we call that a bug, consider this. Every shotgun fires a number of projectiles that each attack. And although I haven't found yet the code for this, some loose testing does show that the closer your target is, the more projectiles will hit that target. Further distance meant fewer projectile hits. So there's no range penalty per se, but there are still advantages to attacking up close. So if you have thoughts about shotguns, please pause the video here, drop it in the comments, because I would love to know, do you think having more projectiles hit up close is enough? Or should projectile damage also be affected by range in some way, like for the other guns? Remember, there is code for this, it's just not being used. So should we report this as a bug or leave it alone? Alright, so let's use this as a segue into part 2 now. We're going to talk about a close range damage bonus for the other guns that you can trigger if you know how. Now, let me tell you our first maximum range bonus boost here from part 1. It is true for guns as well as melee weapons, but this close range bonus that's coming up, it is just for guns. I actually misread the earlier shotgun code, and I called it effective range in my last video, and I thought it was for all weapons, melee too, but it's not. A mistake in my testing actually convinced me it was true, but new tests are done. Here is the reality. This bonus only helps guns. Here it is. Let's call it the point blank damage bonus. If you like to use guns as sort of a tight quarter, last ditch backup weapon, then this part is for you. If a target is really close, within 15% of your max range, you should only deal 15% damage, right? But the point blank damage bonus kicks in right here. It'll juice up your damage from 15% or less all the way back up to exactly 50%, 5-0. So let's look at how to find the point blank zone and find out why this helps only guns, even though it's technically in the code for all weapons. So we'll look at a baseball bat and the M9 pistol. Baseball bat 1.5 range, pistol 7 range. So the 15% bonus zone for the baseball bat is 0.225 tiles, and for the revolver it's 1.05 tiles. Now you might see the problem here already. For both of these weapons, the minimum range is 0.61 tiles. So for the baseball bat, the 15% bonus zone is actually inside of the minimum range, which means it will never do a proper attack there, so it doesn't matter. Instead, the baseball bat will only ever push in that spot. For the revolver though, and for all weapons with at least 4 maximum range, there is a damage boost here in the point blank zone. Sort of a close range bonus instead of a close range penalty. So again, that bonus for guns will take your damage up from 15% or less and boost it straight up to exactly 50%. So if you've been using guns and you felt close range was good, boom, there it is for you, verified in the code and by my testing. But shotguns again are an exception here. Shotgun does not care about range. As long as you hit a target, the shotgun damage right now will always have the same multiplier. Okay, part 3 now. Let's talk about how you can find your maximum range and your point blank range quickly in game. After this, I'll give you a bonus fact about gun damage, but first, check this out. What we're looking at here is a range modifier that you can get from every gun except shotgun. And every time you level up aiming, the range of the gun improves by 1/2 of this modifier. So basically rifles gain 1.5 tiles per aiming level, or only 1 tile for that little varmint rifle, while handguns gain 0.75 tiles per aiming level. This is going to push out that max damage sweet spot at the far end of your range, and it's also going to give you a larger point blank area to work with for that solid 50% damage. So let's look at some examples to help you keep track of the changes in game. Remember, shotguns don't change, so we're only looking at handguns and rifles right now. First, here are our units of measurement. A TV is 1 tile large, an average Zomboid car is 4 tiles long, and a main road with 2 lanes is 8 tiles across. So we'll use those. Here we go. Handguns first. What you see here are the average maximum ranges for level 0, level 5, and level 10 handguns. So average max range is about 8 tiles at level 0, 12 tiles at level 5, and 15 tiles at level 10. My advice is to think about those units in these terms. At lower levels, go for Zeds when they are almost across the street from you. That'll be about 8 tiles away. That'll give you some good, almost maximum damage. At level 5, go for a distance of about 3 cars, or 2 station wagons, and at level 10, 4 cars, or 3 station wagons, should put you in a good place. Let's think about point blank range next. An average handgun point blank range will be 1.3 tiles at level 0, 1.8 at level 5, and 2.4 at level 10. So at low levels, here's my tip. Don't do it. Zombies will be either way too close to be safe, or they'll just be outside your point blank zone and you'll do less than 20% damage. So instead, wait till mid-level. At that point, any Zed that is less than 2 TVs away is going to be in range, and at level 10, that goes up to 2.5 TVs. So this is way safer, easier to use, and good damage. Okay, next up, rifles are awesome, but their range changes dramatically as you level up your aiming, so let's help you out with that. Your average maximum rifle range at level 0 is 10 tiles, going up to 17.5 tiles at level 5, and maxing out at a whopping 25 tiles for level 10. So at level 0, max damage will be about the distance across a street with a bit of extra space on either side, and at level 5, think of having 4 car lengths between you. Then at level 10, just, 5 station wagons, I guess, should do the job. Honestly, it's got such high damage output at this point that is not a big concern. Just make sure your target is at least 3 wagons away from you and you should be fine. Or you can put the target in your point blank zone, and with a rifle that's pretty good. At level 0, that is a 1.5 tile space in front of you, so a TV and a half. At level 5, you have 2.6 tiles to work with, and at level 10, you have a whopping 3.7 tiles of point blank range. Level 0, again, just make sure you comfortably fit a TV between you and the target. Then at level 5, bump that up to a little more than 2 TVs. Then at level 10, make sure you can fit no more than 1 average car between you and your target if you want that damage bonus. Okay, now if you have other range visualization tips, please drop it in the comments. But first, here is your bonus tip about guns. Did you know that Project Zomboid's code actually reduces the calculated damage of melee weapons down to 15%? So what that means, when you look at the wiki and you see a max damage of 1, that's actually a max damage of 0.15. But for guns, the game reduces your calculated damage down to a more generous 70%, or 0.7. So that listed gun damage we see is actually 4.7 times better than the melee damage. So when you're comparing damage values for guns and melee weapons, just remember that the numbers you see for guns are actually 4.7 times better than what you're looking at compared to melee. If you have other gun tips for the audience, please drop them in the comments and check out these next videos for more Zomboid tips. Thanks for watching, Survivor, and stay safe out there in the end times.